Let's have a look at the format of the speaking test. Most of you must be aware of this, that the speaking test is divided into 3 parts, part 1, part 2 and part 3. The part 1 is known as the introduction and interview round. The duration of this particular part is for 4 to 5 minutes. Yes, you have to introduce yourself in this particular round. It's more like an interview wherein the examiner would ask you questions about your identity and other general questions on work, study, home, interest, as well as your family. So they would ask you questions to make you comfortable. Yes, the strategy is to make you comfortable in the beginning by asking you to introduce yourself and by asking you questions which are real in nature. Yes, these questions are real, and by real I mean that these particular questions, for the answers of these particular questions are known to you. You know what these particular questions are. Alright, so here you would be asked real questions. Duration would be 4 to 5 minutes and the round is called introduction and interview round. Let's move on to the part 2. Part 2 is known as the long turn, or what we commonly call as the cue card round. Here the duration is 3 minutes and the first minute is spent on preparing the cue card on a particular topic. Yes, you're given a cue card on a particular topic and you have to prepare so that you can speak for 2 minutes after the preparation time is over. Here, while you're given the topic, you're also given some relevant bullet points which you can follow to help you make up for the talk which you have to give for those 2 minutes. Here you're also provided with a notepad and a pencil so that you can make some shorthand points and remember them while you're speaking for those 2 minutes in the end. This is your long turn. Part 3 is the discussion round, wherein the time allotted is for about 4 to 5 minutes. Here you would discuss issues related to the topic in part 2. Yes, this is kind of an extension of part 2 itself. In the part 2, whatever topic they've given you and you've spoken about it, they'll pick up the same topic or a topic related to that one and would continue asking you the questions from that. This is more like a discussion. Here the questions are abstract in nature. What do you mean by abstract? Here you do not have real answers or concrete answers for the questions because these are not personal in nature. These questions are personal in nature. You know how many siblings you have, you know where you're working, you know where you're studying. So these questions are real in nature. You know the real answers to these questions. Whereas here, if they've given you a topic on tourism and they're asking about the benefits or the advantages and disadvantages of that particular topic, then obviously it's abstract in nature. You have to compare and give reasons to what you think. So these are abstract in nature and you have to discuss the issues with them, wherein the examiner would also ask you questions. It's going to be bi-directional in nature and it's more like a discussion. So this is how your speaking test would look like. In total, 11 to 14 minutes are spent on your speaking test. It's one of the shortest tests because your listening is for about 30 to 40 minutes. Your reading and your writing tests are about for 1 hour. And here it's a tiny test wherein you have to spend just 11 to 14 minutes. So make sure you speak well and you leave a good impression on the examiner. Now that we've understood the format of the speaking test, let's move on and look at the speaking tips. These are generic in nature and these can be applied before you're going to appear for the test as well as during the examination or during the speaking test. Number 1 is speak, speak, speak. Yes, the speaking test says it all, that you have to speak. You just have 11 to 14 minutes. As I've already mentioned, that's a very short span of time, and in that short duration you have to showcase your speaking skills. As much as possible you have to speak. You have to make the examiner realize that you have a good command over the language along with a wide range of vocabulary. So this is what you have to do there. Don't sit quiet. You have to speak in the examination hall. You have to speak during your speaking test. However, before you go to the test, You have to speak and speak a lot and practice a lot at home. You need to practice speaking a lot so that you don't fumble during the real test date. So here, how do you practice at home? You can communicate with your family, your friends in English, and even your colleagues at office. We have this tendency to speak in our mother tongue or the common language of your particular place because your community knows that language and is comfortable with it. But we all have studied, or we all have gone through English textbooks in our school days. We all know English, and why not speak in English during our work as well? So we need to speak a lot in English so that we understand what our flaws are and we are in a position to rectify them. However, if you think that you do not have family members or friends or even colleagues who can communicate with you in English, then what you can do is you can pick up a book, go in front of a mirror and start reading that book aloud so that you can hear your own voice, you can hear your own words, and that would give you a perspective as to how the sentences are formed, whether the sentence is grammatically correct or not. Plus, it would give you a lot of confidence when you hear your own voice, and trust me, it's going to leave an impact on the examiner as well. Nonetheless, if you think that all these things will not work for you, you can enroll into our course. Here in our course, during the speaking session, the trainer would ask you questions and would give you a feedback in live time. Yes, the sessions are live and the trainer would ask you questions, you have to answer to them, and by the end of the entire mock test, they'll tell you what were the mistakes, be it grammatical. If you have repeated a lot of words, they'll help you out with enriching your vocabulary and also with sentence formation and idea generation. So here you'd get valuable live feedback from our trainers. Alright, moving to the second point, clear your doubts. Yes, you might have a certain doubt with regard to some part of the question or certain word in the question. You can ask the examiner about the meaning of that particular word. Now this is like in a do or die situation when you do not understand a question at all and you want the meaning of that particular word that is creating issues, then definitely you can ask the examiner, could you please explain or could you please tell me the meaning of this particular word. However, if you can manage without it, it's best not to ask. Alright, so here clear your doubts, that's important. And next one is do not fake accent. Yes, I've come across this a lot of times that accent matters, you need to speak in a certain accent, American, British. No, the answer is a plain no. You don't have to fake accents, you don't have to imitate accents, just be the way you are. What matters here is the pronunciation and not the accent. This is nowhere in the parameters, whereas pronunciation is definitely in one of the parameters. So be careful, be particular about your pronunciations. Do not worry about your accent. If you are an Indian origin, Indian born person, definitely you would have that particular accent in you, and there's no shame in that, there's nothing to worry about it. Alright, the fourth one is use contractions. Yes, it's definitely the opposite of what I have been saying in my writing playlist. Yes, you have to use contractions here, but not in the writing section or the writing test at all. Here you have to use contractions because this would showcase that you have a great command over the language. And what are contractions? I'll repeat. Instead of writing do not, we write don't, and we speak it as don't instead of do not. Instead of I am, we call it I am. So here contractions can be definitely used in your part 1 of the test, where the examiner is asking you to introduce yourself. So you can say I am so and so. So this is how you can use I am. Instead of saying I am so and so, you can say I am so and so. Alright, so use contractions and other contractions would be given in the link below in the description box. We have a PDF file created by our team members with the best of contractions. You can have a look at them, practice them on a day-to-day basis, try to use those words, and definitely it would make a difference in how flawlessly you speak. Fifth, don't remain silent. Yes. Speak, speak, speak. There's no point of remaining silent. You need to speak as much as possible. Even if the question is a difficult one, you're not familiar with that question, just don't remain silent. Speak whatever is relevant to that topic. You might have a certain amount of idea regarding that particular topic, so I'd request you to say something or the other instead of just staying back and keeping mum. Think before you speak. Yes, this is another essential thing. Okay, you have been bombarded with a few, unfamiliar questions and you don't know what to say. Instead of saying remaining silent, what you have to do is you have to think before you speak. Take a pause. Sit back and take a second and process what the question is asking, understand it, and then start speaking. There's no hurry. You need to understand the question, only then you will be able to frame the sentences in your mind, and once you frame the sentences right in your mind, definitely there would not be any issue while you're speaking. So take care of that. Think before you speak. It's very important. Familiarize yourself with the different types of questions. Yes, this is one of the other important tips. You need to be familiar with all the three types of rounds. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. You need to be comfortable with all the three of them. Keep practicing them on a daily basis and you will have a better command or better hold over these three parts. 8th, avoid repeating words. Yes, I've stressed this enough in our writing part also that you should not be repeating any words. Use different words, use synonyms or paraphrase the question. Yes, just like in the writing part in your essays, I have suggested that you should be paraphrasing your question. Similarly, in your speaking as well, you have to paraphrase the question that is asked to you by the examiner. Restate that particular question in your own words without changing the meaning of that question. This would showcase, number 1, that you've understood the question correctly, and number 2, that you have a good vocabulary. You have a range of vocabulary in which without repeating words you can convey the same meaning and you can restate the question asked by the examiner without using the words that he used. So avoid repeating words, use synonyms as well as paraphrase the question whenever they ask you anything. For example, if the examiner is asking you to tell whether you like flowers or not, instead of just simply saying yes I like flowers or I like flowers, it's better to say that I absolutely get fascinated by the colors of flowers. So this is how you can kind of paraphrase the question. Use expressive words. Instead of using the same monotonous word every time, just like yes or no, because you will encounter a lot of questions the answer to which would be yes or no. Instead of just plain simply saying yes or no as the answer to those questions, it's better that you use words like absolutely, definitely. So these words showcase that you can express yourself with different words. So these 2 points are kind of interrelated, but here the expression part is more important. Alright, the last one is modulate your tone. Yes, do not be robotic in your tone. Don't just have the same pitch or the same wavelength. It's important to modulate. Whenever something is asked about a happy event or something that you were excited about, show that excitement in your voice. If they're asking you something that's sad or that's associated with grief, then showcase that in your voice. Do not have this constant tone. Always keep modulating whatever you're saying. Just like in your mother tongue, you would not have the same tone. It's important to modulate even in English. English is just like another language. So always when you're speaking in English or writing in English, think of yourself doing the same thing in your mother tongue or in any second language that you're comfortable with. So you'll get a better hold over that language, and you'll understand why modulation is important, why we should be using synonyms or paraphrasing the words, and how using different words showcases that we know that particular language. Alright, so these were some basic speaking tips. I'll just repeat them quickly. Speak, speak, speak. You need to practice as much as possible, and you also need to speak as much as possible in your speaking test, because after all they're testing your speaking skills or your spoken English. Clear your doubts. Don't assume that a question is trying to ask you something that you're not sure of. If you have a confusion with the word, just ask the examiner. Do not fake accents. Yes, there is no point of faking accent, because you cannot fake something in a stressful situation and you'll end up making a fool out of yourself. So it's better that you focus on the pronunciation of words instead of the accent. Use contractions. Here in your speaking you have to use contractions, whereas in case of your writing you do not, and we have attached a PDF file in the description box below wherein you will get a list of contractions. Fifth, don't remain silent. Yes, it's your spoken English that's assessing your spoken English, so you should be speaking and you should be answering anything that's relevant to the topic, because here they're trying to see whether you can speak. Even if you do not know the answer to a certain question, don't remain silent. Just say that, I'm sorry sir or ma'am, I have no idea about this particular question. I'll go home and Google it. So this particular sentence is also something that you have said and would be considered in the part of your speaking. They'll judge this sentence as well. So it's good to say something rather than just keeping mum. Think before you speak. Definitely you should process the question in your mind and also process what you want to speak, and then only you should start speaking. Familiarize yourself with different types of questions, part 1, part 2, part 3. All of them should be familiar to you. You should not get shocked in the test. Avoid repeating words, use expressive words. Yes, use synonyms, paraphrase the question, and then start answering the question, and use expressive words instead of repeating the same old monotonous words, and modulate your tone. It's important. It shows that you have interest in speaking, and it also grabs the attention of the examiner. If you speak in a slow volume and also at a slow pace, it would bore the examiner. So it's important that you keep modulating yourself and speak at a pace that would interest the examiner as well. So that's about it for today. I hope you're clear with the format and some basic tips of the speaking test. I'll see you soon in our next video. Till then, stay tuned and please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much.